Hi all, welcome to Nanaimo in beautiful British Columbia. I am Jackie and I'm a Marine Safety Inspector with Transport Canada Marine Safety and Security. Today I'm going to take you on board a small tug to show you about my work and how we do inspection. In British Columbia, here on the west coast, we have about 1,000 tugs that operates. We inspect all kinds of vessels, to fishing vessels, large cargo ships, passenger vessels, ferries, water taxi. Come on, let's go on board. The first step to an inspection, even before we would step on board, would be the preparation. You have to know that these tugs are inspected every 4 years. So it's important that we keep good records of our inspections, that when we do it, we take lots of pictures, videos, and we take lots of notes. After our inspection, we have to do recommendations that are safety related to the owner of the vessel, whether we write deficiencies or whether we will issue them their inspection certificate that's required for operate. So now we are in the place what we call the wheelhouse or the bridge of the tug. This is where we would look at the vessel certificate that usually the owners will keep in binders. So we have safety inspection certificate that will be issued by Transport Canada that tells the operator that they can operate the vessel and that they meet all the regulations. We also have a minimum safe manning document that is approved by Transport Canada as well, that will tell the operator how much crew he needs to operate his vessel safely. In this space, we will also find life-saving equipment plans and firefighting equipment plans that are approved by Transport Canada Marine Safety. And when we do our inspections, we have to make sure that the equipment that is laid out on these plans is actually where it should be on the vessel. That is very important. So the next part of the inspection, after we looked at all the paperwork, we're going to look at the instruments and the navigation equipment. So this is where most of the controls are for the operation and the navigation of the vessel. So we will look at the radar, the depth sounders, we will look at the radios, and we will make sure that all these equipment have the proper updates, that the crew can use them properly, that they have been trained to use them. For example, in this radio, they would use it to call the Coast Guard in an emergency, and the GPS position have to be included in the radio. So the crew need to be aware how to include the position in the radio and how to use it. Here are the controls for operating the vessel. You need also a horn and the navigation lights, which would be here. So we would ask the crew to turn those on and make sure that they're all functioning properly. The next place we can go is in the crew quarters. So follow me down. So now we are in the crew quarters of this tug. So this is where the crew that works on this vessel have a bit of a personal space. This tug is operated on 12-hour shifts, so this is a smaller space than some other vessel that would be operated 24 hours a day, let's say. So here there's some bunks for the crew. There's also some life-saving equipment here. The life jackets, most of them are kept here. When we do our inspection, we have to look that the light is within the expiry date. We have to look at the reflective tape on the life jackets. You can also ask the crew to try one on if you're not sure if they know how to do that. There's always an escape hatch that is in crew quarters. Actually, in all the spaces of the vessel, you do require a way of getting out that is a second way. We always have to make sure that these accesses are clear of obstruction inside and outside, and that they can be operated safely. We also have immersion suits, which usually the crew keeps here. So when we do our inspection, we can ask the crew member to get one out of the bag, and then we can inspect the components of the suit. So these suits also require a light that needs to be within the expiry date. We also have to make sure that the zipper is in good condition, that the cuffs of the jackets are still in good condition, and that there is no rip or tear in the suit, because the crew might need this in case of an emergency. So you can also ask the crew to try one on, as they all comes in various sizes. There's also different equipment here. They are required to have a way to retrieve people if there's a man overboard, so that is where they keep it here on this vessel. So all these equipment can be deployed at the request of the inspector. Okay, let's follow me to the engine room. So now we are down in the engine room of the tug. This tug is a tractor tug, so it helps move larger vessels. It's got really powerful engines, so that is how it's been built. As far as my job as a safety inspector, when I look into the engine room, I will look at the firefighting equipment. This vessel has a CO2 release equipment. So we can look here that all the nozzles are in place. They also have portable fire extinguishers near the engine. For those, we have to make sure they've been serviced in the cycle period required by the regulations, that they are the proper size and the proper type. So these things we check during our inspection. There is also some life-saving equipment down here that we check, like we did in the crew quarters. There's a nice signage here that indicates to the crew that these are here. There's emergency fuel shutoffs on this vessel, which we have to make sure that they are working properly in case of an engine room fire. The crew would have to shut those off. So it stops the fuel from going to the engine intakes. We would also look at the bilge to make sure that the bottom of the engine room is clean. If there's any water ingress, there is bilge alarms and pumps that can pump the water out of the vessel. That is why it's very important to keep those areas clean of oil and fuel. Let's go on the deck. So now we are back on the deck. The deck of this tug is fairly small, but there's still quite a few items that we need to verify during an inspection. So first of all, these are vents that are coming from the engine. So we have to make sure that we can close these vents in case of a fire in the engine room. Usually the panels are kept behind here, and we have to make sure that they're in place, easily accessible, and that they actually fit the area properly. Here we have a really important safety equipment piece, which is the inflatable life raft. This vessel has two on each side. When we do our inspection, we have to verify that the life raft has been inspected within the service cycle, that it has been installed properly, that it has a hydrostatic release unit. We can ask the crew to do abandoned ship drill, and they can demonstrate the steps that they would do in case of an emergency to launch the life raft in the water. Other equipment that we have on the deck is the life rings. The life rings are all to be marked with the name of the vessel and the port of the registry. They need to have reflective tape so they can be seen, and they also need to be in good condition so the plastic is not cracked. Depending on the regulations the size of the vessel, they need a light, a rope, or a smoke signal attached to the life ring. So since this is a tug, there's a towing winch here, and they use it to tie up to bigger vessels to assist them to go in the ports and out of the ports. So this is very important during an inspection, that we will make sure the crew knows how to operate this and they know how to release the towing line. There's an abort system, and there's also a manual system that they will have to demonstrate they can operate efficiently. Here's the escape hatch that we saw in the crew quarters. So as I said before, we have to make sure that it's not obstructed and that it's easy to open for the crew to escape as required. And we can see on this vessel, this life ring on this side has a light. So this light will be also lighting up when it gets in salt water. Now we're going to go down the stairs and we can talk a bit about the firefighting equipment. So as we come down here, I can talk a bit about the firefighting equipment on the deck. When we come and do our inspection, we will ask the crew to start the fire pump and to demonstrate that they can fight a fire on the vessel using the fire hose. What is important to know is that the fire hose needs to be long enough and the pressure that the fire pump generates for the water be enough that they can cover all areas of the vessel. We also have to make sure that the nozzle is a proper and approved nozzle. that can do a jet, but also a firewall for cooling boundaries around the fire area. So that's it for my inspection. Thanks for coming on board with me today and learn about my work that I do with Transport Canada Marine Safety. Now I'm ready for your questions.